KBLA Talk 1580, we believe that caring for the community means caring about the climate. You might have heard that we announced a pretty bold 12-month, $2 million campaign to do 4 things. Increase climate literacy, turn up the volume on communities of color in the climate conversation, connect everyday people with the resources they need to survive and thrive, and highlight frontline climate justice crusaders of color throughout this year. KBLA Talk 1580 will be bringing you insightful interviews on all of our shows to help raise your climate IQ. Each quarter this year, we will also be hosting free climate events in various communities throughout the city with food, fun, and forward-thinking conversations. Thanks to partners like LADWP, Metro, Caltrans, the Sierra Club, the California Community Foundation, the California Endowment, AQMD, MWD, and more. You'll also be hearing more about a couple of national town halls broadcasting live from Los Angeles, to which you will be invited. And we'll be rolling out a robust social media campaign on all our platforms, as well as an outdoor media campaign, all designed to educate, enlighten, and empower you in our fight for climate justice.
We want cleaner air.
Caring about the community means caring about the climate. At KBLA Talk 1580, we believe that we really can change the world if we care enough. If we care enough. If we care enough. If we care enough. If we care enough.
And it is the Friday edition of Areva Martin in Real Time. Avi Bernard here with you. Let's get you caught up. The funeral of Alexei Navalny today almost did not happen at all, but thousands ultimately did turn out, braving the snow, heavy security, and weeks of Kremlin efforts to derail the event so that they could pay their respects to the man who challenged Vladimir Putin with a vision for a democratic Russia. Bearing flowers, candles, and placards, the crowd chanted Navalny's name as his body was first delivered to a church in southern Moscow for a brief funeral and then to a nearby cemetery. There were also riskier words uttered in a country where the government crushes even modest displays of dissent. Russia without Putin, and Russia will be free, and even Putin is a murderer were all audible cries from the masses at the Navalny funeral. President Joe Biden announced today that the U.S. will drop food aid into the Gaza Strip, noting that the humanitarian aid flowing into the region for Palestinians is not nearly enough. Biden said, quote, "We're going to pull out every stop we can," close quote. Biden also reiterated that the U.S. is trying to push for an immediate ceasefire between Hamas and Israel in order to allow more aid into Gaza. A New York man was convicted of killing a 20-year-old woman after she and other young people mistakenly pulled into the driveway of his home. He was sentenced to 25 years to life today. Kevin Monahan was convicted in January of second-degree murder in the April 15th death of Kaylin Gillis, whom he fatally shot after the car she was traveling in pulled into Monahan's driveway in rural New York State, about 40 miles north of Albany, as they were looking for a party. The group was lost and in an area of New York that did not have cell service. A pastor in North Carolina has apologized for remarks he made during a sermon where he said women's clothing choices are responsible for sexual assault. During a sermon recorded last August that recently went viral, the Reverend Bobby Leonard of Bible Baptist Tabernacle in Monroe, North Carolina, said that if he were serving on the jury for a rape trial, he would acquit a male rapist if his female victim were wearing shorts during the assault. The Reverend said, quote, "If you dress like that and you get raped and I'm on the jury, he's going to go free." And he later said, quote, "I'm right, because a man's a man," close quote. Donald Trump floated possible support for a 15-week limit on abortion in a Fox News interview last night. Though Trump's campaign wouldn't elaborate on his plans, Trump, who is coasting to the GOP presidential nomination, has been consistently cautious about advocating for any specific abortion policy during his campaign. But during an interview on Fox at the southern border, he said he's heard a lot about a post-15-week ban. Trump said, quote, "Largely they're coming in with a certain number of weeks. We want to take an issue that was very polarizing and get it settled and solved so everybody could be happy." And just that comment right there thinking that you can have any abortion policy that would make anybody happy, everybody happy, shows how out of touch he is. Both President Joe Biden and former President Donald Trump visited the southern border yesterday in a dramatic split-screen moment as the 2024 presidential campaign ramps up over immigration, which has confounded administrations of both parties for decades. Biden made a direct appeal to Trump, asking him to join him in telling Congress to pass the bill, which was tanked after Trump rallied his allies in Congress against it. When we come forward, we have the pleasure of being joined by former New Orleans Mayor Marc Morial. He's also the president and CEO of the National Urban League, and he's going to talk about the State of Black America report, which was released today. I can't wait to have this conversation. We will get right to it when we come forward right here on KBLA Talk 1580.
She's the real deal in real time. You're listening to Areva Martin in real time on KBLA Talk 1580.
I started vaping my freshman year of high school, mostly because all my friends had vapes. I wanted to fit in with them and look cool and be a part of everything that they were doing. The hardest part about quitting for me was all my friends still hitting their vapes right next to me. It was really frustrating and confusing when I was trying to quit because in my head I knew I didn't want to do it anymore, but for some reason my brain still wanted it.
No quit story is the same. For free support, text Kick Nicotine to 66819 today.
Don't shave with that, son. You'll get razor bumps.
Nah, Pops. I'm good with Gillette's Skin Guard. How long you been growing that beard anyway? You know Mama hates it.
Yeah, had it since my last wet shave in 77. Got ingrown so bad, looked like I was growing a patch of new noses.
That's why I use the Gillette Skin Guard razor, face scrub, shave gel, and moisturize, so I don't have to worry about new razor bumps or shaving irritation.
Gillette Skin Guard, huh? Your mama's gonna love this one.
If you love to travel, Capital One has a rewards credit card that's perfect for you. With Venture X, earn unlimited double miles on everything you buy and turn everyday purchases into extraordinary trips. Plus, receive premium travel benefits like access to over 1,300 airport lounges where you just check in and chill out. Open up a world of possibilities with Capital One. What's in your wallet?
Terms apply. Lounge access is subject to change. See CapitalOne.com for details.
KBLA Talk 1580. We've got a lot to talk about.
KBLA Talk 1580, connecting you with services and solutions. Single Moms Planet is a nonprofit organization dedicated to uplifting under-resourced single mom business owners and working mothers nationwide. Single Moms Planet offers comprehensive programs of financial literacy, business development, mentorship, and entrepreneurial training. They provide education, accountability, and hope. Single Moms Planet was founded by model, TV personality, and producer Nefertiri Plessy. Nefertiri felt firsthand the challenges that face single moms as she was raised by a working single mother. She learned that the most disadvantaged group in the United States are single mom families. According to the U.S. Census, 30% live under the poverty line. So she decided to do something about it, along with co-founder Cole Patterson. Their goal is to end the poverty cycle in single mother households through education, opportunity, and networking, providing family and child enrichment programs for under-resourced single-parent families. Single Moms Planet serves over 10,000 single moms and their children each year. Studies show that business development and financial literacy provide a positive environment for children and families, exposing them to new possibilities and opportunities. To attend one of their fun events, make a donation, or get more information, or if you need help as a single mom, please visit singlemomsplanet.org. That's singlemomsplanet.org. This is a community call to action from KBLA Talk 1580.
There's no time like the present. Let's get back to more of Areva Martin in real time on KBLA Talk 1580.
And we're back on the Friday edition. Avi Bernard with you, and such a pleasure to be joined right now by former mayor of New Orleans, Marc Morial. He's also the president and CEO of the National Urban League. Mr. Morial, thank you so much for joining us.
Hey, great to be with you, and good evening to the great city of Los Angeles.
Yes, sir. And I saw you talking about this State of Black America report on CBS this morning with Gayle King. Great conversation. I'm glad it's getting the attention it deserves, and thank you so much for taking the time to join us here to discuss the same thing. So just for people who haven't heard about it, what is the State of Black America report?
Well, the State of Black America report goes back to 1976. When the legendary Vernon Jordan, when he held the position I hold today, the presidency of the National Urban League, heard then President Ford give his State of the Union address. And in that address, President Ford did mention the black community, didn't mention civil rights, didn't mention cities, didn't mention poverty, really gave a speech as though black America was non-existent. Vernon said at the time, we'll do our own report. We'll report on the state of black America, the conditions affecting black America, the hopes, the dreams, and the aspirations of black America. Since that moment, 1976, we've released that report on an annual basis. When I joined the National Urban League about a decade and a half ago, we decided that we were going to add a statistical component to the state of black America, and that's called the Equality Index. We released this report today. It's got three parts. One, a retrospective on the Civil Rights Act of 1964. It's now 60 years since its passage. Number two, the statistical index, which tells us really where we stand in comparison to white Americans. And third, a Biden Black scorecard. We look at Joe Biden's promises and we look at his performance, and we evaluated the two. So the report, I think, to put it in perspective, shows that, yes, since 1964, black Americans have made great progress. The nation has made great progress. But I would have thought that the progress would have been greater. And one of the stories along the way is that every step of the way, there have been those who sought to thwart that progress. Politicians, conservative activists, courts and judicial decisions. And we face at this moment one of the biggest resistance moments, the anti-DNI effort, the voter suppression effort, the challenge to African-American history and the banning of books constitute, when taken together, a resistance movement to continued progress. So that index this year is 76%. So black people, we sort of grade, if you look at numbers and statistics, at 76% of where white Americans are. And that's the substance of the report. Stateofblackamerica.org. The report is free. It's downloadable. It's available to all. We want it to be, if you will, something that provokes a discussion in the community, if you will, instrument that helps educate and inform.
And so you said stateofblackamerica.org, correct?
Stateofblackamerica.org, or you can go to NUL.org.
Okay.
And we include recommendations as well.
Okay. So you've got a lot of information there available. And so you brought up some things that we talk about a lot on this show. Some of the, I guess, the anti-black movement. You know, the banning of books, the trying to rewrite history, trying to point slavery in a positive light, even as you know, Governor DeSantis of Florida and the Florida legislature would try to do. So has this score gone up in recent years? I mean, obviously we've made progress since the report started in the 70s, but how does the score of 76 compare to, I guess let's go back to the Obama presidency. And I feel like while we made a lot of progress with President Obama being elected and then serving 2 terms, we saw just how much racism there was, because it came out of the woodwork, and a lot of people were unhappy, and they felt like they needed to show that. And so where does the score of 76 compare to when President Obama was in office?
Well, it's really only moved 3 points in the last 20 years.
Wow.
This is the truth matter now. And it's moved those 3 points substantially in the last 2 or 3 years. Now, what does that mean? The score can move because in some areas like health and education and economics, where we have a lower unemployment rate than we had, 3 years ago, 4 years ago, 5 years ago. But when it comes to things like social justice, which includes criminal justice, the gap has widened. The situation has worsened. So the index is an average of a number of factors and should not be interpreted as meaning that in every element, in every aspect of life, we've made progress. The history of resistance has been there since the beginning. After the Civil War, when we had progress, we had the end of Reconstruction, we had the Great Betrayal We had the Plessy v. Ferguson decision. After the Civil Rights Act of 1964, once again, the Civil Rights Act of 64 and the Voting Rights Act of 1965 were actually challenged in court. There were those who said these bills are unconstitutional. The Supreme Court, though, rejected those challenges. So part of the history of African American progress has been headwinds all along the way, which strikes me as troubling, disappointing, and yes, angering, is the fact that 4 years ago, we had the tragedy of George Floyd, which caused people to stand up and say it's time for the nation to reckon with institutional racism. There were a number of commitments, many statements made, many institutions took steps. Now we see a retrenchment when it comes to that. And so this fight and this work and this battle has to continue. But going forward is not easy.
Yeah, and you mentioned the anti-DEI efforts, and we actually talked about that at length last week, as we had an open letter signed from maybe a dozen or so CEOs of black companies, write an open letter to Fortune 500 CEOs telling them why diversity is still so important. But Mr. Morial, you mentioned the Voting Rights Act of 1965 and how it faced challenges early on, but it also was gutted about a decade ago by the current Supreme Court Justice John Roberts. So
let me say this, the Supreme Court has been an obstacle for the most part. They, in 2013, struck down a key provision of the Voting Rights Act that had been repeatedly upheld by prior Supreme Court. Just last term, they struck down Harvard and the University of North Carolina's affirmative action in college admissions programs. They've gutted provisions of Section 2. They have struck down reproductive rights. There is no doubt that the Supreme Court has been an obstacle. But here's what I want people to remember. The Supreme Court of today is the Supreme Court of today because of the 2016 election. When Hillary Clinton was defeated, it handed to Donald Trump, along with Mitch McConnell, 3 seats on the United States Supreme Court. Those 3 seats have made the difference in all of these cases. So if we are concerned about our progress, we have to be concerned about who the president is. And we have to be concerned not about tennis shoes, but about who someone will put. Let's get real and not tricked and bamboozled by drive-by politics, and understand the seriousness of who is president. And the Supreme Court is one of the most significant bodies, and it has given to us as such. It has handed justice to us over the years, and it's taken justice away as well.
Yeah, and that's exactly the point I was about to make about the Supreme Court, gutting the Voting Rights Act and Chief Justice John Roberts doing just that. And you're so, that's exactly right. I mean, the Supreme Court has been an obstacle, and it's not supposed to be that way. And with Donald Trump getting to nominate 3, a third of the court, that is so many. And so if people want to complain about, Joe Biden and things that they don't like about him, I totally get that. But I mean, you have to, if for no other reason, the Supreme Court, if you vote for Trump again, if the United States puts Trump back in office, then how far back do you think this score is going to be in 4 or 5 years or 10 years when we have a locked in, at least for the next generation, 6-3 majority on the Supreme Court?
Devastating. Let me say this. Devastating. Trump inherited the Obama economy, a growing economy. He boasted and took credit for it. And you even hear people saying, well, during Trump's economy was the Obama economy. But at the end of his administration, what did he do? He left us with double-digit unemployment because of COVID. He didn't create COVID. He made it worse by how he responded to it.
Mm-hmm.
Under the Biden administration, you've seen the unemployment rate in America and in Black America be cut in half. 40% of all Black businesses shut down during COVID, and the Paycheck Protection Plan that Trump passed left Black businesses out. I mean, we need to understand that. I tell people, I want people to examine the record. Look at the totality of the record.
Mm-hmm.
Don't be bamboozled by rhetoric. Don't act as though this is a contest for American Idol. Let me pick the one thing and performs the best. We have to pick substance over style, substance over performance artistry, and we have to put our own interests first. And protecting, if you will, the integrity of civil rights law is one of the most important things this generation has to remember to do. And so we are encouraging people. One reason why we did the report, and we did a report on Obama, we said people run for office, they make commitments. Let's go see if they lived up to their commitments. In Biden's case, to a great extent, his commitments to Black America were lived up to. Are there some unfinished things? Are there some things that have not yet gotten done? We looked at that too. Voting rights didn't get done. Blocked in the Senate by Joe Manchin and Kristen Sinema, who refused to set aside the filibuster. The George Floyd Justice and Policing Bill passed the House of Representatives twice. Blocked in the Senate. Blocked in the Senate. A minimum wage or living wage bill. Passed the House of Representatives. Blocked in the Senate due to the Senate filibuster. Let's get our facts out on the table to understand the agenda that we are for, the agenda we would like, the agenda that supports not only what Black Americans want, but what people in the nation want, has been thwarted by a handful of politicians, even after the House of Representatives and President Biden advanced those bills through the process. So, facts, the record, and criticize Biden, criticize anyone, but let's get the facts out there and understand that the stakes are extremely high, and also that not voting and protesting by not voting is not a strategy. All right? It's not a tactic. It's what I call unilateral disarmament in a war for the future. Disarm yourself unilaterally as though you're sending a message. You're not sending a message if we do not vote. We are basically going to be the laughing stock of those who take power if we take the posture to not vote. And I think we have to be straight. We have to be unvarnished. We got to be vocal. We got to let people know this is not a game. This is nothing to play with. This is not a TikTok exercise. This is our future is on the line. And I'm not saying anything is perfect. I'm not suggesting that I'm in love with anyone running for any office. I'm saying we have to vote. Our interests have to informing ourselves of the facts.
And speaking of being a laughing stock, Mr. Morial, I'll get you out of here on this one. Republicans do see Black people in a certain way, and so none of that is not highlighted in things much more than in the clip I'm about to play for you real quick. Let's take a listen to what they said about how we feel about these sneakers that you mentioned earlier.
Even the sneaker thing. I was on social media last night. Very interesting as you see Black support eroding from Joe Biden. This is connecting with Black America because they love sneakers. They're into sneakers. They love this is a big deal, certainly in the inner city. So when you have Trump roll out his sneaker line, they're like, wait a minute, this is cool. He's reaching them on a level that defies and is above politics. The culture always trumps politics. And Trump understands culture like no politician I've ever seen.
Question for you on that point, though.
Yeah.
Will the people that are excited about the sneakers and excited about Donald Trump, will that translate into them going out and voting for Donald Trump?
Well, anybody willing to put $400 down for a pair of sneakers? Yeah, I think that's commitment and love.
I hope you're right.
It's something. It's affection. Even
So Mr. Morial, they figured us out. All you have to do is come up with some sneakers. I got about 45 seconds for you. Take us home. What does that clip say about how they think about us?
Insulting, degrading, demeaning, diminishing, as though we're some kind of consumer to be manipulated by an overpriced, gaudy, cheap-looking pair of shoes.
Ugly pair of shoes.
Oh, no. Ugly. I mean, that is the point, right? We are just manipulated and lacking in any sensibility. Anyone who hears that ought to be absolutely insulted and demeaned. I can't even stand to hear such preposterous logic. And I just believe that we have to be smart and realize that, yes, people engage in what I call drive-by politics. The election gets near and they come up with some sort of gimmick, some sort of appeal to try to induce us. And after the election, they don't return any of your calls.
No.
They forget you. Drive-by politics, I say no.
Mark Morial, former mayor of the city of New Orleans and the current president and CEO of the National Urban League. The State of Black America report was released today. Thank you so much for joining us today. The stateofblackamerica.org is where you can go for more information. Mr. Morial, thanks so much for your time today.
Thanks for having me. And don't forget, the Gumbo Coalition documentary is at HBO Max, so check that out as well.
The Gumbo Coalition is on HBO Max. I will certainly be checking that out. Thank you for that, and we hope to check back in with you soon.
God bless. Thank you.
Yes, sir. When we come forward, we'll be joined by Ray Richardson. Haven't talked to the no debates, no speculation guy in a while, so we got to get him in here and get his take on the Lakers, the Dodgers, and the college football playoffs being expanded. We'll do that after this news, traffic, and sports update on KBLA Talk 1580.
Areva time is the right time. More of Areva Martin in real time when we come forward.
I'm Tyreek Wynn. Here's the latest on the Black Information Network. Travis Scott's Los Angeles mansion is in trouble as a crack has formed in the hillside below it. The crack appeared after recent storms in the Los Angeles area. There are about 5 houses that are at risk of sliding, but no evacuations have been ordered yet. The local fire department said the crack is superficial for now, but more rain could cause further damage. The area is being assessed by geologists, but the LA Department of Building and Safety says there's little risk of the entire hill coming down. USC quarterback Caleb Williams, who's black, says he would be willing to play for the Chicago Bears if they draft him number 1 overall. He told ESPN that if Chicago traded the pick and he gets drafted by someone else, he would be just as excited. Williams made the comments just a day after reports came out claiming that his camp was against going to the Bears. That's the latest. I'm Tyreek Wynn on your home for 24/7 News, the Black Information Network.
Over in Irvine, watch for a 30-minute traffic jam on the 5 North between Jeffrey and Ball Road. A 2-vehicle accident is currently in Anaheim's 91 East at Tustin Avenue. CHP is on the scene as they're waiting for a tow truck to arrive. And watch for a slight heavy delay coming from Highway 57. Got pockets of heavy traffic flow back in Diamond Bar on the 60 East between Phillips Ranch Road and Mountain Avenue, up to 20 minutes. In Glendora's 210 East between Highway 57 and the Waterman Avenue, Highway 18 interchange, heavy traffic flow continues over 40 minutes. And in Garden Grove, a 2-car crash is currently on the right shoulder at the 22 East at Harbor Boulevard, with slowing coming from Magnolia Street.
Wendy's Breakfast 2 for $3 Biggie Bundles lets you choose your perfect duo from your fave 4, like a sausage or egg and cheese biscuit, small seasoned potatoes, or medium hot coffee. Limited time only during breakfast hours. U.S. price and participation may vary. Not valid in the combo. Single item at regular price.
This is the KBLA Sports Minute with Ray Richardson.
USC's women's basketball team found out they can win without superstar Juju Watkins. Watkins fouled out with 2 minutes left in regulation in Thursday's game at Arizona. The 7th-ranked Trojans hung on to beat Arizona by 2 in double overtime. This was only the 3rd time this season that a player other than Watkins led USC in scoring. Center Rhea Marshall led the Trojans with 26 points and 11 rebounds. Watkins finished with 20 points. Final regular season game for the Trojans is Saturday morning at Arizona State. The women's Pac-12 tournament tips off Tuesday in Vegas. March 1st is the beginning of Women's History Month. A salute to Sandra Douglas Morgan, the first African-American woman to become president of an NFL franchise. Morgan was hired by the Las Vegas Raiders in 2022. She oversees all of the Raiders' business and marketing operations. No debates, no speculation, just the info you need. That's your KBLA Sports Minute. I'm Ray Richardson. More news, opinions, and conversation when we come forward on KBLA Talk 1580.
Climate is king.
At KBLA Talk 1580, we believe that caring for the community means caring about the climate. You might have heard that we announced a pretty bold 12-month, $2 million campaign to do 4 things. Increase climate literacy, turn up the volume on communities of color in the climate conversation, connect everyday people with the resources they need to survive and thrive, and highlight frontline climate justice crusaders of color throughout this year. KBLA Talk 1580 will be bringing you insightful interviews on all of our shows to help raise your climate IQ. Each quarter this year, we will also be hosting free climate events in various communities throughout the city with food, fun, and forward-thinking conversations. Thanks to partners like LADWP, Metro, Caltrans, the Sierra Club, the California Community Foundation, the California Endowment, AQMD, MWD, and more. You'll also be hearing more about a couple of national town halls broadcasting live from Los Angeles, to which you will be invited. And we'll be rolling out a robust social media campaign on all our platforms, as well as an outdoor media campaign, all designed to educate, enlighten, and empower you in our fight for climate justice.
We want cleaner air.
Caring about the community means caring about the climate. At KBLA Talk 1580, we believe that we really can change the world if we care enough.
Politics has become so messy lately, it's hard to find a reason to be hopeful. Hi, my name is Shakira. I'd like to tell you why Adam Schiff gives me hope. My parents raised me to take my right to vote seriously, so I try to stay on top of what's going on. I saw Adam Schiff lead the impeachment and insurrection hearings. He seemed like someone I could believe in. Then I actually met him at the MLK parade in South Central LA this year. Adam listened. He cared. I got to see who he is. He understands the struggle we have with the cost of living, all the parents working extra shifts and taking second jobs to get by. He gets a threat to our democracy and our freedoms. Adam Schiff knows how tough things really are for a lot of us, and I believe he's going to do something about it. It gives me hope, but hope isn't enough. We need to vote for Adam Schiff for Senate.
I'm Adam Schiff, and I approve this message.
Paid for by Schiff for Senate.
If we're the ones disproportionately impacted by these climate catastrophes, why should we be silent? Turning up the volume all year long on the climate conversation for KBLA Talk 1580.
If you're looking for the most epic place on Earth, let's start at the base of a massive waterfall. Then trek through the thick jungle. Then climb to the peak of a snowy mountaintop. Then once you get there, keep going. Because with intelligent 4x4 and 7 drive modes and a Nissan Pathfinder, the search is the real adventure.
Available feature. Intelligent 4x4 cannot prevent collisions or provide enhanced traction in all conditions. Always monitor traffic and weather conditions.
You're listening to Areva Martin in real time on KBLA Talk 1580.
Back on the Friday edition, wanted to end the week with some levity, and also it's been a while since we checked in with our good friend Ray Richardson. No debates, no speculation, just the info you need. KBLA sports reporter. What is happening, my friend? How are you?
How you doing, Avi? Good to be with you. Good to talk to you again.
Always glad to have you on the show. Always look forward to our conversations. So, the Lakers, okay, they had this amazing comeback against the Clippers the other night. All right, down by 21 in the fourth quarter. It's the largest fourth quarter comeback the Lakers have had this season, the fourth largest fourth quarter comeback the Lakers have ever had in their franchise history. Think about that. All of the great teams they've had, all of the great players, all the players in the top 100 they have in the history of the franchise. This is the fourth largest fourth quarter comeback they've ever had. And I wasn't even able to watch the game because I was at a thing where I couldn't watch even on my phone, but I was able to look at the score, and I just kept seeing the score like go down. It was going down and down. I saw, okay, LeBron 3. I was like, what is happening? What is going on right now? And so just your thoughts on that comeback the Lakers had against the Clippers the other night.
Well, I was watching the game, and I was really in kind of shock mode because I was wondering when Clippers coach Ty Lue was going to do something to stop this. It was pretty obvious that the Lakers were making a run when they cut it down to about 10 or 12. It was obvious the momentum had shifted, and LeBron was just knocking down threes left and right, and I didn't see any defensive adjustments on him. And by the time they started trying to double him and trapping him to make him pass the ball, it was really too late. The Lakers had already taken the momentum away from the Clippers, and by that time it was pretty much nothing the Clippers could do to stop that. Now they had chances to tie the game in regulation before it was over, but it was pretty much done midway through the fourth quarter, and I've never seen a comeback like that in a while. And from LeBron's standpoint, that's the biggest comeback personally for him in his career. I didn't know that until they came up with that stat the next day, that 21 points is the biggest deficit he's overcome in his career. So it magnifies two things. One, how great LeBron really is. He can still take over a game and dominate. But two, it also puts some light on the Clippers is how you can let a game like that get away without much response to try to stop the tide from just overflowing. I'm looking forward to see how the Clippers respond tonight. They've got the same Washington Wizards team. They need to dominate this game tonight and get that out of their system, because that's the kind of game that can linger. And you don't want to be thinking about, how you let one get away like that, because when it happens again, when you get a big lead, you're going to start wondering, well, can we hold on to this one? You got to figure out a way to really get past that and dominate somebody in a hurry. And fortunately, they got that chance tonight.
Yeah, that was the biggest comeback, the biggest fourth quarter comeback in LeBron James' career. All the things he's ever done, the biggest fourth quarter comeback in his career. He's still doing firsts at this stage in his career, at this age. And that was you just led me into the perfect segue there, Ray, because you go from that, and it was a back-to-back, but you go from that game against the Clippers on Wednesday night to the next night, last night, that game against the Wizards, who are, if not the worst team in the league, they're in the conversation for the worst team in the league. 9 wins and 49 losses coming into that game. And the Lakers were trailing for a large part of that game. They got ahead in the third and in the fourth, and then they couldn't put the game away, and then they were trailing with like 2 minutes left. They were lucky to force overtime. They were lucky that Jordan Poole didn't hit a game-winning shot. So how do you, when you have those two results back-to-back, the amazing comeback against the Clippers, a great team this year, and then the lackluster performance last night, even though they did win the game, how do you look at this Laker team right now?
Well, I'm kind of thinking that they're going to surprise some people over the last month of the season. They look like they're ready to make a move to get into at least the first 8 spots. Right now, they're a game and a half behind Sacramento for the 8th and final playoff spot. I'm not too concerned about last night's game, because you could almost expect them to have a letdown after what happened on Wednesday. That was a major accomplishment for them, to send a message out to people that, the Clippers aren't the only good team in L.A. in the NBA. And I know that game meant something to them. I don't know how much last night's game meant to them, but they knew that they could not afford to lose the game. But you can almost expect that they would not be as sharp and not be as motivated, not be as focused If they had like a day off or maybe 2 days in between, I don't think they would have had their problem. But that's a tough game to play the night after you have really spent yourself and in an emotional game against a rival, against a team that's trying to let people know that they're the better team in L.A. The Lakers were up for that game, but I didn't think they'd be up for last night's game. And fortunately, they won it. Fortunately, also, AD had a monster game. I mean, LeBron had the game Wednesday, but AD was on point last night. I mean, 40 points, 15 rebounds.
Yeah.
Sometimes you got to give that man his props when it's due, because he has been there when he's healthy. He has been there. So it has not always been LeBron to carry them. AD has done his part, and if he keeps on doing that, I wouldn't be surprised if the Lakers hang around and make some noise in the postseason. I wouldn't be surprised about that.
I wouldn't be surprised either, and they absolutely have the capability to do that. It's just this whole season, it feels like every win has been so difficult. You know, they've had a couple of games where they've blown the other team out, but it seems like every win is like drawing blood from a stone. Andy, what's up?
All I want to say is that this season is very similar to last season. And last season, I was pretty much scared. They were lingering around the play-in like all season, very similar to now, right? And then when they finally got into the playoffs, right, first round, they played the Memphis Grizzlies, a 2 seed, a Memphis Grizzlies team who was pretty much on the, coming up. I feel like it's the same scenario this season. We have a Minnesota Timberwolves. We got a OKC, top 2 teams in the West. At this point, the way I see it, Lakers make the playoffs, it's going to be a 7th or 8th seed. So it's going to be very similar to last year. And I'm very much so confident this go around, based off of what I saw last year, that the Lakers will make it to the conference finals again.
Wow.
I have that much confidence.
And so, and I do see the parallels, Andy, to last season, but last season they started the year with a different roster, and they made moves at the trade deadline. And then once they made those moves, it was like just straight up the standings, and they gelled. This year, they came into the year with largely the same roster, with some changes, with expectations, and then they faltered throughout the year, and so yeah, and they've had a lot of injuries. Like Vando is you can't overstate the importance that he has to the team, but had a lot of injuries. But LeBron and AD been healthy the whole year, and they've missed a few games, but they've been healthy the whole year. So that's why it's just puzzling to me. But they definitely have the capability, and so and speaking of that Clipper game. Yeah, I know that Paul George was out and Zubac was out, but we never get credit when we're missing the player. Lakers missing LeBron or somebody and we lose. It's not like, oh, well, they only lost because LeBron wasn't there. It's like, oh, they lost, so what? And so I don't want to hear nothing about Paul George being out. So but let's look forward real quickly to the game tomorrow against the Nuggets, Ray. So they got swept in the Western Conference Finals last night by the Nuggets. They lost. I think they lost both games so far to the Nuggets. And so it's I'm talking about in this regular season, so that's 6 straight, at least. They just it seems like the team they just can't figure out. It's like the Supersonics back in when I was growing up. Like we just could not beat the Sonics. And so what do you make of the game tomorrow night? And what are you going to be looking for?
This is a big time game tomorrow. This game is probably a better measurement stick for them than how they played on Wednesday against the Clippers. Denver has been the team that has been a tough match for them. They have not been able to beat these guys. I mean, you can count back to the finals. They've lost 6 straight to these dudes. And I think they need to step up a little bit tomorrow night and let Denver know that they're going to have, somebody to think about if they match up again in the postseason. This is a good time for the Lakers to play Denver. This is really the right time. They're playing better. They just closed out a 8-3 record in February. They've been impressive for a while now. Denver has not been as formidable as they were last season. They've had some injuries and they have not been clicking as much as they used to, but they still got the best player in the league in the middle. With Jokic in there, he can make up for so many mistakes, from his teammates. He's the guy that you can count on to get a bucket when you need it. You don't always have to have a 3-point shot with Denver. They've got the perfect solution to a 3-point shooting and outside shooting. If you're not on top of your outside game, you got a guy you can dump it into. And when you got a guy like that, you've got an advantage over most teams. And right now, I still see Denver as the favorite in the West, but Lakers can say something about this tomorrow night. This is a big-time test for them. And, with the way they're playing right now, if LeBron can stay healthy, I would knock on wood with LeBron. Don't sleep on his health situation. That ankle has been a nagging problem for him for a while. And don't be surprised if you see him sitting out a couple of games before the regular season's over. Well, keep your eye on his health, because that's going to be crucial. But right now, he's playing as good as you can play. And for a 39-year-old guy, if he keeps this up, I would not be surprised if the Lakers go a little further than people think they might. But Saturday's game is big. They need to show up tomorrow night and send Denver a message.
Yeah, absolutely. And just real quick before we step aside, what do you make of the acquisition of Spencer Dinwiddie and the impact that he could have on the team?
I'm not too sold on that just yet. I got to see a little bit more of him. I don't know if he's the outside answer that they were looking for. I haven't seen a lot of that yet, because LeBron has the ball in his hands so much, and D'Angelo Russell is shooting the ball so much, and even Hachimura is taking over some scoring when they need it, and with AD down low operating. I'm not so sure if Dinwiddie is going to be the impact player they think he is. But, I mean, he's a nice veteran to have, but I wouldn't be counting on him to try to win you a game if you need it. He's another veteran player, but not an impact player just yet. I got to see more of him.
Yeah, when we come forward, firstly, I'm looking forward to seeing that game tomorrow night, and it is a crucial stretch for the Lakers, so we will learn a lot about them. And they have been a big game team, though. They do seem to rise to the opposition, and they also lower to the opposition. So we'll see how they do tomorrow night. But when we come forward, Ray, I want to talk about the college football playoff with you and how it has gone from 4 teams to 12 teams when we come forward right here on KBLA Talk 1580.
She's the real deal in real time. You're listening to Areva Martin in real time on KBLA Talk 1580.
Hello, my name is Rhonda Dixon. I'm running for Los Angeles County Superior Court Judge, Seat 39. I believe in the power of restorative justice, alternative sentencing, and equal access to justice. I was born and raised in South Los Angeles. Vote March 5th, 2024 for Rhonda Dixon, Seat 39. To find out more about me, go to www.rhondadixonforjudge.com. That's RONDADIXON4judge.com. Paid for by Rhonda Dixon for Judge.
Hey Californians, are you ready to make your home ownership dreams come true? The California Dream for All Shared Appreciation Loan Program might be for you. First-generation homebuyers can get down payment and closing cost assistance along with a first mortgage to help you unlock the door of your new home. Applications open in April, so talk to an approved lender to see if you're eligible. Find out more at calhfa.ca.gov/dream or call 877-922-5432. A message from the California Housing Finance Agency.
Hey LA, when you're trying to get where you need to go, like work, school, and what matters to you, Metro is here to get you there. With discounted fares and free pass programs, Metro is making public transportation affordable and easy to ride for everyone. Plan your trip at metro.net.
The first time I tried to quit vaping, I told myself that it was like a mountain that I had to climb over. And once I got to the other side, it would be clear. But I couldn't make it over. What really got me to quit was my little sister. I saw her vaping. So I was back in the mountain, but this time she was up there with me. It's weird what you can do for others that you won't do for yourself.
Every attempt is part of your story to quit for good. Visit Kick It California today at kickitca.org.
There's no time like the present. Let's get back to more of Areva Martin in real time on KBLA Talk 1580.
And we're back on the Friday edition. Avi Bernard here with you, and I'm always grateful to be joined by Ray Richardson. No debates, no speculation, just the info you need. But Ray, let's talk about the college football playoff. And I wanted to talk about this last week, but I just haven't had a chance to. But it's a big deal. We've always had the college football championship has always been decided by measures that are questionable at best. Decided by a poll, decided by the BCS National Championship game, in which the top 2 seeds just get to play each other for the championship at the end of the season. And so every other sport, including college, college basketball is the best system. March Madness, you have the bracket. And so now in the last few years, last half a dozen years or whatever, you've had a 4-team playoff. And you've still seen a lot of controversy, teams getting excluded who should have been included, like Florida State last year going undefeated in a Power 5 conference, not invited to the playoffs. So what's your initial reaction to the college football playoff being expanded from 4 teams to 12 teams?
Well, first of all, it's a commendable move that they are expanding, because they had to avoid another embarrassment like the Florida State situation. I don't think the NCAA could have handled something else again like that. That was tough for them to deal with. The problem that they're going to have, and I don't know if this proposal has been finalized or not yet, but it's got to be approved by the NCAA presidents and the governing bodies that oversee policy changes. The one thing that's getting people upset already, and this is still in the talking stages, is that they want to give a automatic first-round bye to the champion of the Big Ten and the SEC conference. No matter who that is, they're sliding them in as an automatic bid, like in basketball. And I don't think that's going to go too far with people. Already, there's some coaches and some other people screaming about that. Giving a conference an automatic bid, no matter what team wins that title, that conference title. And I don't know, that could be a stumbling block to this policy and this expansion getting approved. It just makes it unfair to the other conferences. And then there's somebody trying to tell people that the SEC and the Big Ten are the top 2 conferences in football, and everybody else is after them. So I don't know if that argument is going to fly too well in the next few meetings when they try to get this thing finalized. They're going to have to revise this proposal a little bit, because I don't think that's going to go over too well. It's just an unfair advantage for the Big Ten and the SEC to kind of tell their teams that whoever wins first is automatically in the playoffs, and that's not going to fly too well. I don't see that.
Yeah, the Big Ten has 2 teams. The Big Ten has Ohio State and Michigan. That's it. That's all they have. All the other teams in that conference are horrible. I mean, Penn State is okay sometimes, but they're not a serious threat. You have Iowa being in the Big Ten championship game every year because of the side of the division they're in. So it's that makes no sense.
But now you've got, see, one reason why the Big Ten is put on this pedestal a little bit is because all
you got the extra teams.
12 schools are coming over. Mm-hmm. In particular, they cannot wait for USC to come over. And UCLA potentially could be a better team. But you also got Oregon, you got Washington, and Utah. Those are the major properties in the Pac-12 conference. And now they're going to be in the Big Ten. You're looking at as a powerhouse conference now in the Big Ten, so I can see why they're thinking that way, but it's still not fair, and I would be surprised if this proposal goes down the way they're looking at it. They're going to have to tweak it just a little bit more, but to get 12 teams on the board, I think it's fair. It gives a lot more teams a chance to get in, but you've got to do something about that automatic bye. I just don't think that's going to be a fair system.
Yeah, I think to have an automatic bye based on anything other than seeding is unfair and doesn't make any sense. If you have it based on seeding, then it's like a lot of other playoff systems. I mean, baseball, professional baseball, professional football. So yeah, I don't understand why you would do it any other way.
Well, in basketball, you have to earn that automatic bid. You got to win your conference tournament, which is the right thing to do. You're not given that automatic bid. You got to play some teams and beat some teams to get that. No matter how good you were in the regular season, when that conference tournament comes around, you got to win that too to get that automatic bid. Football is not asking for that; they're just going to give it to you, and I think that's going to be a problem with some people. I would be shocked if this thing goes through like that with that automatic bid on the table. I just don't see it.
All right, what's up, Andy?
I just don't see why they don't take, a pay-trim NCAA basketball and just have the 64, team tournament.
64?
Why not?
That's a whole season.
Okay.
Because you can't have that many games. That's why.
I mean, you can still have weekly games. That'll extend the football season.
But you can't have these dudes out there playing 20 games with the regular season.
Yeah,
is it 20 games in the season? In the tournament?
No. Well, in the tournament, I mean,
from 64 to 1?
64, 32, 16, 8, 4.
It's like 4
2,
or 5.
like 6 extra games.
That's not. I mean,
that's a lot of extra games. That's when you're in college. You already got 12 regular season. They be playing more games than the NFL.
That's preparation for the NFL.
They can't be doing that, man.
And you know what? The other problem with that,
maybe 16 teams.
That is that some of those guys, if you're going to add more games to your schedule, and we're already seeing this trend where guys are opting not to play in the postseason because they don't want to get hurt for the draft. A lot of these teams, if you got that many games on the table after the regular season, you run the risk of not having your full roster if you got a bunch of talented cats. And I don't see that happening too much either. I mean, it sounds nice to have that many teams in the field, but practically and then financially, I don't think that's going to happen either.
Well, I think a lot of those players opt out though for the meaningless bowl games. But those players play in the playoff. The players don't opt out of the college football playoff. And so if there's a 16 team bracket, that's perfect. That's what the FBS does. That's Division I AA. They've done that. It's worked great. And so that's what I would advocate for. We're just about out of time though, Ray. Are you DJing anywhere tonight?
Not tonight. I was last night. I'll be back at Lavender Blue on Thursday night with another edition of the Thursday Night Steps Brew. So that's my next gig next Thursday.
Thursday night at Lavender Blue. Make sure to check out Ray Richardson. What time would that be?
7 p.m. to 11, Chicago-style stepping. You can learn how to do it and watch some people get down on the dance floor with that Chicago-style stepping. Otherwise, you can just come out and hang out and hear the music.
All right. Always good to talk to you, Ray Richardson. Have a great weekend. Appreciate your time as always.
Thanks for having me. Appreciate it.
When we come forward, Robin Ayers is in the building. She's back. And it is actually the 1-year anniversary of the Raw Report. Exciting. I might actually hop on with Robin for a minute. So congratulations to Robin. So grateful to see her back and can't wait to hear her on the show today and maybe even talk to her on her show today. Let's go. Robin Ayers is next with the Raw Report. I'm Avi Bernard and I am gone.
KBLA 1580 Santa Monica.
I'm Tyreek Wynn. Here's the latest on the Black Information Network. Baltimore, Maryland is using federal COVID relief funds to create a fellowship program with Baltimore's 2 historically black colleges and universities. Mayor Brandon Scott joined the presidents of Copen State and Morgan State universities on Thursday to outline the initiative to create a pipeline for HBCU grads to enter public service